Hello everyone, very good morning to all of you and welcome back to Crack Grade B. So we were doing the schemes which have been launched by Ministry of Rural Development, and in that particular situation we are going to discuss the schemes further, and today we are going to discuss MG Narega, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Right? So we have already read about this particular schemes in our various schemes which we have done previously or which have been launched in the past year. So you already know about the characteristics and the features of this particular scheme, but what we do not know about is that there are so many various provisions that we also have to cover. Just wait. So let's start. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. This particular earlier all those schemes have been launched by the executive decisions, but this particular scheme has been brought by launching a separate act for it. So this has got a statutory backing and no further governments can deny from it. Therefore, every government has provided funds for this particular scheme, right? So this particular scheme has served as a lifeline of the rural economy. Why? Because at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment is provided in a financial year to every rural household whose adult member volunteers to do unskilled manual work. Now there are a few keywords which you have to take care of or which can be talked about, like 100 days of guaranteed wage employment, that is fine. Next is in a financial year. There's a difference between calendar year and financial year. Please try to remember this particular thing. So here we are talking about April to March, that is a financial year. We'll be counting 100 days in a financial year to every rural household work whose adult members are volunteering to join the unskilled manual work. So please remember, this particular scheme focuses on unskilled type of work, not semi-skilled, not skilled, right? That is also a wage employment, but this particular scheme focuses on providing the employment to unskilled, because the concept here is that if you are having skills, then it will not be difficult for you to find employment, but the situation is very adverse if you are unskilled, right? So next, see what is the goal over here. Goal is to enhance livelihood security of the rural poor through generation of wage, opportunities in work leading to creation of durable assets, regenerate natural resources base of rural areas, creating a durable and productive rural asset base, empowerment of socially disadvantaged, especially women, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, through the process of right-based legislation, and then strengthening the decentralized participative planning through convergence of various anti-poverty and livelihoods initiative. So these are all the focuses or all the objectives. How we are going to achieve this particular objectives, we will see as we'll move forward with our provisions. But let me tell you the last one. Last one is deepen democracy at the grassroots by strengthening Panchayati Raj institution. So there is a concept of social audit over here. The concept of social audit says that whatever work has been performed by you, let the society check it. So how society checks this, that also we are going to discuss. Now first tell me, you people are going to tell me that what is the difference between Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat? Do you know the difference between Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat? What is the difference between Gram Sabha and Gram Panchayat? There is a difference between these two. These two are very different. Okay. See, Gram Sabha in any village means all the members of the village who are above the age of 18 years. That means all persons who are residing in a village, if they are having an age above than 18 years, that means if they are major, then they become the part of Gram Sabha. Whereas Gram Panchayat is an elected body. Elected body means out of the members of Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat members are selected, right? So Gram Panchayat, that is your Sarpanch and Up Sarpanch and all those people, Pradhan, that you know them as, correct? So this is the difference. Gram Panchayat is an elected body of restricted individuals, whereas Gram Sabha is the collective body of the whole village. So because in this particular scheme, we will be hearing the word Gram Sabha again and again. So you must be knowing that what does this particular term means. Next is objective. See the objectives over here. Providing not less than 100 days of unskilled manual work as a guaranteed employment in a financial year to every household in rural areas as per demand, resulting in creation of productive assets, strengthening the livelihood base of the poor, proactively ensuring social inclusion, and strengthening the Panchayati Raj institutions. These are all the objectives, not very tough to understand. Now we will see how does the implementation has progressed. Obviously, whenever any particular scheme is launched, first of all, this is implemented on a pilot basis in a restricted area, and then when implementation is successful, reviews are positive, then the implementation is further increased to the other areas of the country. So here also the same kind of thing has happening. First phase, 200 districts in the first phase with effect from February 2006, and then it was extended subsequently to 113 and 17 districts with effect from April 1, 2007 and May 15, 2007. The remaining districts were also included, and currently the act under implementation has got 644 districts of the country covered. So we are covering a substantial rural population. Who are eligible? So any adult who is above the age of 18 years, member of a household who is willing to do unskilled manual work, can register themselves to obtain a job card under Manrega, right? How they can register themselves? So households having adult member who are desirous of seeking an unskilled wage employment, they may apply for registration. Registration may be given on prescribed format in plain paper to local Gram Panchayat. Now, to whom you will give your application? Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat is the elected body which is going to govern your village as a unit. Whereas Gram Sabha is the collective body of all the adults in the village. Now we are going to see the role of Gram Sabha. See, it determines the order of priority of work in the meeting. What kind of work should take place, that is decided by your Gram Sabha. Next is obviously monitor the execution of work. Primary forum for the conduct of social audits. We are going to talk about social audits in detail at the end. So wages are minimum wages. There is a minimum wages act. So wages are according to that, and at least 100 days of employment is guaranteed. If work is there for a larger number of days, then no problem, you can give, but at least 100 days are required. So these were the roles of Gram Sabha. What are the roles of Gram Panchayat? So obviously receiving and verifying applications, registering households, issuing job cards. Now what are these job cards? These are workers' entitlements under Manrega. It legally empowers the household so that they can register for work. You can link it with an identity card. Like whenever we want to enter any school or any colleges, we need an identity card for that, right? That identity card serves as our identity, and it enables us to take the classes in that particular institution. So in the similar fashion, if you want to apply for the jobs in the Manrega, first you have to register yourself, and for that you will be receiving a job card, right? Next is make available all relevant documents including muster rolls, bills, vouchers for the purpose of conducting the social audit, maintaining accounts and providing utilization certificates in the formats, identification and planning of works, developing shelf of projects including determination of order of their priority, forwarding the list of works to program officer for scrutiny and preliminary approval, and allotting work within 15 days of submitting the application or from the date. This is with regard to the workers. So if you are an unemployed person and you are seeking a job, then first you will apply the application to the Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat will see it, and this is mandated under this particular act that whosoever is demanding a job, you should be able to provide them a job within 15 days. Now, if you do not have a job at that particular moment of time, then you have to provide unemployment allowance. इसमें financial inclusion. See, what does financial inclusion means? In an economy where private sector is not what you can say giving the not has that orientation to give the benefits to the general people, or the welfare orientation, that I would say. Government has got the welfare orientation. If government will not do so, then who will initiate the process? I hope that you understand that for anything to happen, there should be an initiation or there should be a start, right? So in case of financial inclusion means there are so many things under financial inclusion. First of all is financial literacy, then the ability to use financial products, correct? Having a network of financial products, and then a proper regulation. All of this comes under the financial inclusion. So government here is through the motive of direct benefit transfer. Government first has started the PM Jan Dhan Yojana, opened the bank accounts for every poor. Then government linked Aadhaar card, mobile and the bank accounts, so that the benefits could be directly transferred. Now what happened over here? The people who never knew that how to operate a bank account have started using it. Now as they have started using it, there is a digital footprint, or the financial footprint of theirs has been created. Once the financial footprints have been created, now they will be eligible for other kinds of financial inclusion topics, like your bank loan can be given to them as and when required. Mudra loans, government has started so many initiatives so that if any kind of organization or individual who is doing a business may need funds, then that can be given to them. So this is just in his starting. If an unemployed person wants to seek the employment and he is getting an employment, he is receiving money out of it, he is doing all of this through the banking channels, then obviously this is a way of financial inclusion, right? Moving on. So these are the roles of Gram Panchayat. Next is mode of payment. How the payment will be done. So see, financial inclusion has come over here. The payment of wages through individual savings account unless so exempted by the central government. Disbursement of daily wages shall be made on weekly basis, or in any case not later than the fortnight. That means please give on weekly basis, and if it cannot be happen, then at least give in 15 days. But let me tell you, in practicality or in reality, this situation has not been possible. Why? Because there has always been delay in the funds. The reason for that is sometimes central government does not provides the funds. Sometimes state governments are falling short of funds. Hence, in real time, this particular situation has not that much frequently complied with. But leave it. Next is there shall be no discrimination on the ground of gender in giving payment. No gender-based discrimination is prohibited. Unemployment allowance if an applicant is not provided employment within 15 days. If he has applied for work and you are not able to provide the employment within 15 days, in that case you have to give the unemployment allowance. This is calculated automatically by computer system or the management information system. Who is going to bear the cost? Cost is going to bear by the state government. Now what should be the wage material ratio? Wage material ratio means, I have already told you that in these particular schemes the focus is of this particular scheme is, first focus is to generate employment, right? To whom they want to provide employment? To unskilled workers. Now in this case, if they will choose such kind of work where labor is not that much necessary but material is necessary, then that particular work will be of no use under this particular scheme. So the scheme says always maintain a ratio of 60-40. That means 60% out of the total project cost should be your labor payment, that too to unskilled worker, and the remaining 40% should be for the material. Material including the semi-skilled and the skilled workers. That means the 60% of the wage ratio we want to maintain should go for the unskilled laborers. Then only the subject of or the objective of this particular scheme will be successful, right? So that's what they are saying over here, that cost of material component of the projects including the wages of skilled and semi-skilled workers taken up shall not exceed 40%. 60-40 ratio for wage and material cost should be maintained at the Gram Panchayat level. Now important features. So these are all the miscellaneous features till this particular point. I hope that you are now aware of the MG-NREGA provisions. Even if you weren't, that is given because we have seen the previous schemes and these particular objectives which we have studied till now includes the provisions of past schemes as well, right? Now we are going to study the specific features which are related with this particular scheme. I wish that you please remember all these important features because till this particular time everything was very super easy. Now the things are becoming difficult. So see, first of all, employment should be provided within 5 kilometers. Obviously, otherwise the person would have to travel, and along with travel, the cost of travel is also to be incurred. Next is 1/3 of beneficiaries must be women. So I would like to tell you that please hold on. Let me complete this particular scheme because by the time I will reach at the end of scheme, all your answers will get clear by themselves, right? And if after completing the scheme also any question of yours remains, then we'll see that. Gram Panchayat registers households and issues job card within 15 days of application. The registration is valid for 5 years and it can be renewed or revalidated by following the specific process. So please remember, for how long your registration under MG-NREGA remains valid? It remains valid for 5 years. Wages should be as per provisions of the Minimum Wages Act 1948 but shall not be at rate less than 60 rupees a day. The disbursement of daily wages shall be made on weekly basis or in any case not later than the fortnight after the date on which such work has been done. Any delay in payment of wages beyond 15 days after closure of muster roll. Muster roll means where it is being recorded that what kind of work is being performed and who are the laborers which are employed on this particular work. Once your work is complete, that means the muster roll has been closed. So wages should have been paid. If you are not paying wages, then you will have to give. If you are delaying the compensation, then you have to give the worker at a rate of 0.05% of the unpaid wages per day. The schedule of rates of wages for various unskilled labor shall be fixed so that an adult person who has worked for 8 hours, including an hours of rest, will earn a wage equal to stipulated wage rate. That means at least above the minimum wage rate he'll be able to earn. So per hour rate you should fix like that anyone who is working for 8 hours, 8 hours are the standard hours for working, right? So if you are working 8 hours, then you will be able to earn at least the minimum wages. It can be more than that, but cannot be below your minimum wage rate. The working hours of an adult worker shall be flexible but shall not spread over more than 12 hours on any day. Working for more than 12 hours is prohibited under this particular scheme. No contractors and only labor intensive task. Why contractors not involved? Because understand this particular thing, we are not doing any kind of big construction works. No, government does not want to do that. Government wants that the labor should take simple rural projects which are important from the village perspective or from the village usage perspective. Now understand this particular thing. As we move forward in this particular scheme, you will get to know that government has prohibited the useless kinds of work like taking the grasses out, right, and such kinds of work which are useless, does not create any value, these are repetitive in nature. So once suppose any kind of crop related work, farm related work, that is not allowed. Horticulture is allowed, correct? Farming, your forestry is allowed. Those are the things that are allowed, but normal farming practices are not allowed under MG Narega. So this particular thing has been taken care of. If there is any person who allows that, okay, do this non-productive work, then cost of that particular work will be taken from that person only. Government will not bear that particular cost. So your Gram Panchayat members are there. We do not want a middleman, or the government does not want a middleman to whom the payment should be made. Government wants this particular scheme only for the benefit of workers. Workers are there. Then your Gram Panchayat Pradhan or Sarpanch, that person is there. Secretary is there. For Gram Panchayat level there is a secretary who is, that person is also there, who takes care of the work which is being carried out, and once the work is complete, social audit is conducted. Audit means checking, to check. So once the work is complete, and not just after the completion, even in between also, in between the intervals, social audit is conducted. Social audit conduction is the what you can say is the purview of the Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha performs this particular functions. There are social audit units which are being created in order to check the progress of work. See, worksite facilities like creche, drinking water, shade has to be provided. Additional 50 days of employment should be provided if there is drought or any kind of natural calamity. Why? Because in such situation, the villagers or the rural people will need funds or need money, and this is the way of government to help them in case of droughts or natural calamities. So at that particular time, notifications are released. Government says that, okay, we want to provide the extra employment of 50 days to our workers, right? So provision of additional 50 days of employment beyond the stipulated 100 days to every scheduled tribe households in a forest area provided. Now this particular provision is specially for the scheduled tribes who are living in a forest area. But there is a condition. What is the condition? That they should not be having any other private property except the land rights which are provided under the Forest Right Act 2006. So Forest Rights Act 2006, I hope that you know about it. If you don't, so this particular act has been created See, there are so many scheduled tribes people or the people who are accustomed to living in the forest. They have lived in that particular forest for generations, right? Now, after coming of independence or the governments, they were being excluded from the lands they were living from decades, or you can say from the centuries. So hence this particular act came in, and this provided land rights, community rights to the scheduled tribes who were living in that particular forest area, and also to other forest dwellers who were accustomed to living in that particular area for the last 75 years, right? So this is your Forest Rights Act. So if the scheduled tribes have gotten a land under Forest Right Act, that is fine, but they should not be having any private property. If any person injury is caused to any person employed under the scheme by any accident arising out of in the course of his employment, any accident during the course of employment means while he was working on the site, if at that particular moment of time any accident has happened, then he shall be entitled to such medical treatment as is required free of cost. Whatever kind of medical treatment will be required, even if the cost goes from 10,000 to 1 lakh, nothing matters, because government will be giving this particular benefit to all the persons who are working in the labor site. State government will make all such arrangements, and such person will be paid half of daily wage as an allowance. So if you have got hurt at the site while working for the government scheme, then government is going to take care of you. If a person employed of this particular scheme meets with death or becomes permanently disabled by the accident arising out of the employment, then he or his legal heirs, as the case may be, shall be paid by the implementing agency and ex gratia as per the entitlements under Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, or as may be notified by the central government. So one person was asking that schemes which are linked with it. So now you can spot the schemes easily over here. What are the schemes which are linked with this particular scheme? So Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, this is for the accidental deaths and all those things, right? We have already covered it in our previous schemes which are launched by Ministry of Finance. I hope that you have seen that particular video, correct? So if any personal injury is caused by accident to a child, obviously in a rural setting, the government has already said that please create a facility for creche. That means government is allowing people to for bringing their children to work site. Now, if these children are coming to work site, then there are chances that they might get hurt. So, if such thing happens, then such person shall be entitled to medical treatment free of cost, and in case death or disablement happens, then ex gratia will be paid to the legal guardians by the state government. What would be the amount for it? That will be decided by your state governments at the time of giving. Now, Gram Rojgar Sahayak or the employment guarantee assistants and maids or worksite supervisors are the key functionaries at the Gram Panchayat level. A maid is a worksite supervisor. Preference can be given to the most deserving women families and the differently able. At least one maid should be present for every 100 workers. So now this provision has been created so that a person is always there and a person has been made a point of contact for all the workers who are working on that particular site. That particular person is responsible for resolving any work related issues. That will be a point of contact between all the workers and the Gram Panchayat Sarpanch or Pradhan as well as the secretary. So he or she will be working as a link, and that person is called as the mate or the work site supervisors. Now what are the eligibilities over here? So preference should be given to an educated woman who should have worked for at least 50 days as a worker in the MG Narega in previous or the current financial year. Now, apart from the employment guarantee assistant, there is also a person who is going to be a technical assistant that is going to assist the Gram Panchayat in identifying and conducting measurements of the work. So this particular person has to be appointed for every 5 Gram Panchayats or 2500 active job cards. That means 5 job panchayats. Either if suppose there are 3 panchayats and these 3 panchayats are having totally 2500 job cards. Job card means 2500 people are there who have seek job under MG Narega in the 3 gram panchayats. So this particular technical associate will be employed for these 3 gram panchayats as well. So for 5 there is just one technical associate, but this particular associate can be employed if there are more than 2500 job cards. That means more than 2500 people are seeking job in that particular area. Yes, so there are very much discrepancies in the operation of this particular scheme. Sometimes this happens due to the negligence of the government, but this should not be done. Why? Because what happens is MG Narega is a brilliant scheme. If this is be applicable, what you can say, with all the funds and all the vision and supervision, then this particular scheme has the ability to bring drastic changes in our rural setup. But what are the problems? If you will ever see, because right now I'm not going to discuss the problems, but let me briefly state that. So you see, in every budget that our union government brings in, the allocation to MG Narega is not very much high, correct? This is not high, and apart from it, whatever is the requirement for the whole year, the budget allocations are always lesser than that. And then in the midway or in the mid time, the budgets are increased for MG Narega, or the allocations are increased to MG Narega. So first of all, we have got the shortage of funds. Funds are not being allocated timely. Next thing is, the funds, obviously there are technical issues as well. Sometimes what happens is, if the person is going for seeking the employment, the person who is responsible for entering in the management information system, he never enters that okay, this particular person has came in and he asked for the job. So because you have not recorded it, he will not get unemployment allowance, correct? Because once you will enter this particular thing into your system, then he'll be eligible to get the unemployment allowance. So this is the discrepancy number 2. Number 3 is, all those people who are requiring the job, the state government is also falling short of funds. Revenues are not coming, but the expenditures are too much. So their hands are also tied and they are not able to provide the employment that is fully 100 days of employment. Now who to blame over here? Because at the end of the day, the what you can say limiting factor is your government only. Government is not able to provide work, government is not able to provide the funds and all those things. So there are so many problems in the operation of this particular scheme, but still the good thing is scheme is going on and this has been serving as a lifeline of the rural economy. Next, see, the program officer is the overall in charge of all Manrega related works in the block and is not below the rank of the block development officer. So what is a block? A block consists of a number of villages, right? A group of villages are there under a block. Program officer shall dispose of all the complaints within 7 days and for non-issuance of job cards within 15 days, and complaints of Gram Panchayat shall be disposed of by a block responsibility center. Now a block resource center facilitates knowledge inputs, capacity building, convergence about the MG Narega. State government also designates district program coordinator who can either be Chief Executive Officer of District Panchayat or the District Collector or any other district level officer with appropriate rank. Now, District Program Coordinator. So you can understand this particular thing like this. District Program Officer is the District Collector who is appointed by the state government. He is responsible for the implementation of scheme in the district. A national management team is also set up within the Department of Rural Development to perform the national level functions under the MGNREGA. State Employment Guarantee Council and Central Employment Guarantee Council will monitor the scheme at the state level and the national level. Apart from this, we also have a fund that is called as Electronic Fund Management System. It provides a platform for making e-payments to Mahatma Gandhi Narega workers, staff and vendors using the payment network of financial institutions. So all the payments related things are managed by this Electronic Fund Management System. We will see more e-governance initiatives under MGNREGA, and this is my advice to you. Please remember the names of these particular things, because these could be asked that okay, this particular system is being used under which kind of scheme. So this is very important. Next, we have Ministry of Finance's Public Fund Management System. All Mahatma Gandhi Narega e-payments are being routed through PFMS. Now, what type of works are taken under MGNREGA? Public works which are related to natural resource management, individual assets for vulnerable sections SC/ST. Next is common infrastructure for NRLM compliant self-help group. We are going to do this as our next scheme, that is National Rural Livelihood Mission. So National Rural Livelihood Mission, under this particular thing, what is the objective? To create self-help groups. Now for these self-help groups, they might be needing an infrastructure to operate from. So these particular infrastructure can be created under MGNREGA, like office kind of thing or a bhavan kind of thing where these people can sit and can talk about their businesses. So that is also allowed to do under the MGNREGA. Then your rural infrastructure is to be created under MGNREGA. Now everything is so what you can say common over here. This is not specified, but negative list is provided. Negative list is you cannot perform this particular kinds of work under MGNREGA. So if I remove the negative list, then I will be having a positive list or the kinds of work I am allowed to perform under the MGNREGA. So see over here. What kinds of work are not allowed? So works which are non-tangible, non-measurable, non-quantifiable and repetitive, like removing grass, pebbles, agricultural operations, they shall not be taken up. Work like boulder, pebble or shrub removal, silt application and similar applications will also not act as a standalone activities. Agricultural inputs and agricultural operations are not allowed. Means if the workers are working under such kind of operations, then government will not pay the wages. Removal of weeds and watering may be considered, but only for the forestry, plantations and the horticulture. Limited for a duration of 2-3 years only. That means you can removal of weeds and watering is important for forest growth also. So forestry and horticulture is allowed, but normal agricultural operations are not allowed. This should also be a part of consolidated project to be assisted under MGNREGA. The expenditure incurred to finance non-permissible activity will be recovered from the person responsible for such expense. So the responsible person who has given the direction that please perform this particular activity, the cost of such kinds of activity which are in negative list will be recovered from the person responsible. Now please also think over here, there are so many layers of officers. So you have got a program officer as well who is responsible for checking that what kind of work you are performing and whether or not this work is admissible or not. Correct? So if the work will reach to his table, he is automatically going to deny it. But the ultimate person, he could be Sarpanch or Pradhan, who was responsible. Your Gram Sabha is responsible for deciding the kinds of work that needs to be performed. And then this kind of approval comes to your Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat also sees and forwards the application to the other authorities. So there is a chain, and the person who is responsible at the Gram Panchayat level will be asked to provide for such expenses, because government will not tolerate such kinds of expenses. Execution of pilot activity under MG Narega is discouraged. However, pilots using MG Narega funds or only a few panchayats could be taken up only approval of the ministry. These particular funds of the MG Narega cannot be used for land acquisition, because the focus of ours is on the labor. We want to provide the funds to the labor. Specified criteria to be followed by executing dug wells under the MG Narega. Fine. Now, individual farmer land can be developed under MG Narega. Remember this particular thing. MG Narega says that agricultural activity and agricultural input are not allowed as a preferable work under MG Narega. But at the same time, they also provide that for special category, or the category which is in the need, or the your SC/SC category which I am talking about. So individual farmers land can be developed, but which kind of categories? Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, nomadic tribe, denotified tribes, and other families who are living below the poverty line, women headed households, physically handicapped headed households, beneficiary of the land reforms and beneficiary of Indira Awas, beneficiary under scheduled tribes and the other traditional forest dwellers. That means this is the FRA Act 2006. So these are all what? Disadvantaged category of people. So MG Narega works on the agricultural land which is belonging to these people is allowed. You cannot perform the agricultural activity for such persons who are already well off. No need to do for them. But the people who need such kind of support, you can always perform for them. I had already told you that this was a very long scheme, because this is a most important scheme running from like past 17 to 18 years successfully and still in demand. So after exhausting the eligible beneficiaries on lands of small and marginal farmers, you can also do this. So if the works have already been performed on the agricultural land of the above category, the disadvantaged category, you can also perform on the lands of small and marginal workers or farmers who are identified under this particular Act of Agricultural Debt Relief and Debt Relief Schemes. So this debt relief scheme was brought at the time of 2008, when on the heads of farmer there was too much debt. So successive governments had brought such kind of debt relief schemes. So all those farmers who are eligible for such debt relief under that particular scheme will also be eligible, and Manrega work can be performed on their farmland as well. So any kind of work which is being performed on their farmland will be eligible to be casted as a work under Manrega. Now the special category of workers are person with disabilities, primitive tribal group, nomadic tribals, denotified tribes, women in special circumstances, internally displaced persons, senior citizens above 65 years, and HIV positive persons. Now we'll talk about the social audit. Now what is social audit? Social audit is when the work performed by you is checked by not any external person but the internal persons, or we can call them as the society, so that a peer pressure can always be maintained and the person, see, ultimately any kind of work which will be performed under Manrega will be used by society. So it is better that society itself checks the work which is performed by the workers. So this is the concept of social audit, and in India we do not have a specific legislation for social audit, but these particular kinds of act like your MG Narega is the very prominent one. They provide the element of social audits in the schemes. So social audit component is included scheme wise. Any kind of scheme may have the component of social audit. Otherwise, India does not have any separate legislation for social audit. See, so social audit is a critical stock taking of any program by the community with active involvement of the primary stakeholders. Now, what kind of things are audited? Audited means, the word audit means to check. So it includes the audit of quality of work which is being executed. What are the disbursements that have been made, means what are the payments that have been done, the number of laborers who are employed and the material used. Social audit shall be done by the Gram Sabha. This includes facilitation of social audit through independent social audit units. Now I have already told you the Gram Sabha members, all the people who are above the age of 18 years are forming part of your Gram Sabha. They also form social audit units, means a small teams which can undertake the work of social audit on their own. State governments have to identify or establish independent social audit units so that Gram Sabha can be facilitated for performing social audit under MG Narega. Social audit in a Gram Panchayat should be led by a full-time verified block, district, state resource person of social audit unit along with the village resource persons. These village resource social auditors will be imparted training for 4 days by social audit units on the basis of manual developed by the Ministry of Rural Development. What we perform through social audit? So we establish the public accountability so that projects can be implemented without any disruption. Social audit should be conducted once in every 6 months, and concurrent audits can also be performed every month. So it is not important that first you should complete the work and then social audit will happen. No. Every month it can also happen, and this is the compulsion that once in 6 months you have to conduct, right? Gram Sabha's responsibility is for doing the social audit, but the support is also provided by the state side. They give the training, they give the some personals so that the social audit function which has been given to Gram Sabha can be conducted skillfully or without any interruption. Because the point over here is Gram Sabha people or the members of Gram Sabha, ultimately they are the citizens of or the residents of that particular village. They might be lacking in some kinds of training. Also, they might be lacking somewhere in the independence. So, the state government takes the initiative so that unbiased outlook can be provided to Gram Sabha, and this is how the social auditing happens, right? Then we have the provision of ombudsman. Ombudsman provision is that if you have got any kinds of complaint, then you can register your complaints. Recommendation. Now, how the selection of ombudsman happens. So this is the selection committee, additional chief secretary of the state, eminent civil society personnel who is going to be nominated by Ministry of Rural Development, Principal Secretary of Department dealing with Mahatma Gandhi Narega state, and no person who is a member of political party shall be considered for appointment as a ombudsman. So these are the people who are going to select the ombudsman. What are the powers of ombudsman? He is going to receive the complaints for Narega workers, issue direction for conducting spot investigation if he feels like there is a need for investigation, initiate proceedings suo motu in the event of any need which is arising within his jurisdiction, and suggest redressal, disciplinary as well as corrective actions, and report the findings to the district programs. So this was the provision for the ombudsman. Ombudsman is the person who receives the complaints from the workers as well as any kinds of investigation if he thinks that this is important. So with this, we have completed your scheme of MG Narega. There are so many multiple provisions, but believe me, all the provisions are important and you have to take care of the complete scheme in its totality. You cannot choose to skip any part of this particular scheme because this scheme is very important, always remains in use for good or bad reasons, both of them, but this is important. So I hope that you were able to understand the lecture, and if you have liked it, then please do not forget to hit the like button, and thank you so much.